We all know what happens when neighbours become good friends, but what happens when an architect and his clients are good mates? Well, you get a home that's a social hub for a tight-knit community.
When Ollie and Brooke purchased this place, we had some sort of ideas about, I think I had a very good idea as to how they like to live and like to entertain and open their doors up to the neighbourhood and all those sorts of things.
When you're designing for friends, is it easier or harder?
It is a real privilege, I guess, sort of designing a house for anyone, but particularly the people that you're extraordinarily close to. In sort of doing so, I think in this instance, we're able to kind of come up with a result that we're all really happy with, and I think it's largely because we know each other really well.
It was always going to be Hugh. Hugh has been sort of designing bits and pieces for us for sort of 12 or 15 years now. We did our very, very first little kitchen renovation and the projects have sort of been getting bigger and better. We've been promising him a decent sized project for a long time now, and this is it.
In terms of the material, the neighbourhood and heritage, how did that all come into play?
We're sort of on a corner allotment here, in a sort of fairly prominent corner allotment, and the existing house, Federation era house, was in really quite original sort of condition when we took the project on, and we were sort of mindful that being a sort of fairly prominent corner, that the heritage sort of aspects, kind of I guess having a real responsibility to sort of respond, to sort of that heritage condition was absolutely paramount for us, from day one. The ability to kind of open up into a courtyard space that's sort of accessed from both the kind of the primary living, but also from our studio sort of kind of volume as well. It sort of enables that kind of open the door to the street and enable the kind of friends to sort of come through. I think half of Clifton Hill know the access code to the property here, and it's very much sort of used in that way. From a material sort of perspective, we were sort of drawn to the idea of using masonry, masonry products in general. We sort of felt that in sort of doing so, you're kind of sort of celebrating kind of the history of the existing brick building, but reinterpreting it in a new way. We used a couple of different products here, one being a sort of a terracotta shingle called a skin, and we kind of love the fact that it sort of is in really lovely dialogue with the existing building, and I sort of think that there's almost a bit of a familiarity between the existing sort of press red brickwork and this sort of this new material that we've kind of clad our addition and our sort of studio building with as well. Yeah, the San Selmo products, they're a really beautiful format, a long format brick. There's some undulation, sort of through the brick that we really love. I guess it's a bit of a sort of a character of this particular brick itself. It's interesting for us in terms of those kind of those one percenters, those terminating details. We've used steel angles in certain areas to kind of really highlight that change of material between the skin and then also our Corso long format brickwork. The ability to kind of use the same product for the roof and the walls, we sort of felt was a really sort of lovely opportunity to kind of, sort of celebrate that a little bit further than perhaps just sort of, kind of having a kind of a clear delineating sort of point between old and new and slapping a wall kind of along that sort of boundary. I love this house. I think, it's always a privilege designing, sort of a home for anyone, but particularly when you're designing for close friends, people you love. And I know that they sort of get a lot of enjoyment, from living here and entertaining and all those sort of things. And always love coming back.
Do they all really have your code so they can just walk in?
They really do. They really do.
We literally just changed it.
We did because we've had a solid housewarming period.